Welcome to this week's Kindness Cafe podcast. Grab a cup of coffee, tea, or your favorite snack, relax, and join us for another uplifting story. I am Seema Raj, your host. He told his mom he was attracted to men at the age of 20. But when he was 7 years old, his mom already had a hunch that he was not like other little boys because he loved the color pink and he preferred Barbie dolls over boy toys. Today, 10 years later, mom and son are happily celebrating Pride Month together, thanks to his patience and her open mindedness. Let's meet today's guests, Aryan and his mom, Fernaz. Welcome to Kindness Cafe, both of you. Thank you guys so much for sharing your roller coaster journey with us today. What a ride it has been for both of you. I can only imagine. And you know, this is Kindness Cafe, but people are not always so kind. And I am sure, Aryan, you must have witnessed this firsthand. How was it growing up as a child, knowing that you were different? Were other kids mean to you in any way throughout your schooling years, even up to high school and college? How was it for you?
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate the introduction. That was beautiful. I definitely will say that I'm very fortunate in the fact that I maybe received a little bit of light bullying, so I didn't get too harassed. I think in like my schooling and just in everyday life. I grew up in an area that was really diverse. We had just so many different. People of different like ethnicities and also even sexualities. I think I discovered the idea of someone not just being attracted to men or women in terms of either being bisexual or transgender at a very young age. And also I had friends who were pansexual through high school. So I had a lot of exposure. The bullying, again, wasn't anything that really traumatized me. However, I think growing up where you see everyone is heteronormative, everyone is kind of doing the getting married, having kids thing, you do feel different and very isolated when you're younger because you're still discovering who you are as a person. So yeah, I mean, it's all self discovery and not intaking everyone else's actions and their lives and realizing you have your own personal life and expression. So it took some getting used to. Being an angsty teenager, discovering my sexuality at the same time, people feeling like no one understands you. People generally go through that at a young age. So no one is exempt from that. But I think when you're gay, it kind of adds another layer of, can I tell anyone this? Will there be consequences for saying this? And what will my future look like? So you kind of contemplate all those really scary things and possible hate crimes. And so it is really a wrapped up answer, I would say.
No, that is so understandable, and I can imagine all the inner feelings and the turmoil that you must have gone through. So formally, you came out to your mom at the age of 20, although she had a hunch. But how did you tell her?
It was interesting. So I was at college. She came by and wanted to spend the day with me, and I don't know. I had this feeling like I hadn't shared something really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I said, let's go sit on my bed. I need to tell you something, and it took a while. I didn't know how to tell her. So the first thing I said was, I have an attraction to men. I didn't necessarily identify as being gay, bisexual, or any of the umbrella terms. So
Okay.
that was my first step, into coming out essentially to her.
And for Nas, what was your reaction to that? I knew you kind of knew because he's your son, but what did you say? What did you say back to him, and how did that go?
Well, at first, I want to thank you, Seema, again, to have Aryan and I share our stories, and especially this Pride Month. This is a great topic for us to share with the audience. When Aryan actually told me, there was not a surprise on my end. I can't tell you that it wasn't hard. It was a little bit tough for me to hear directly from him. But he can tell you that I didn't come from a place of judgment. I did listen because I did believe at age 7, I kind of figured out that there was something special that Aryan is just that wanted to share with me, and when the moment happened, it really didn't impact me as much because our relationship was already really great. So it brought us actually much closer together.
That's really, really nice. And you talk about judgment. I know, Fernaz, that you are a very religious person, and I know that Arian is also a very spiritual person, and you are very strong in your Christian beliefs. Was the church supportive when they knew about Arian, or were you disappointed? You're sitting in the house of God, where there should be no judgment and there should be all acceptance. How did that go?
So we lived in Frederick, and no, the acceptance was not there for Ariane, especially even for myself because of a divorce. And really talking about faith, I do want to point out a few things. That faith is really not necessarily sometimes the issue. I think the issue is when people preach organized religion as a way to discriminate and hate rather than showing love and acceptance. And this particular church was really discussing things that really turned me off and turned Ariane off, that there was not going to be any acceptance for Ariane coming out and letting everyone know he's gay at the church. Now we have found a home. We have a great church, a non-denomination that even accepts all religion. We do have the LGBT folks that do, attend, and it's just wonderful. And that's really my hope, that people don't get scared when they see that someone is religious like myself, that faith has nothing to do with wanting to judge them, because we do say that God is love and God loves all.
Yes.
And so that is the most important thing that people need to remember. So I don't come from a place of judgment, and I fully support 100% of the LGBTQ plus communities.
Yeah, and one thing in my mind is that people really need to realize that we are born with the race that we are. We are born with the gender that we are. It is not a choice, it is something that we are born with. So it doesn't even matter. Humans are humans, despite race or gender, and everybody should be kind to everybody. I mean, don't you guys agree?
Absolutely.
100%. I think that's really missing from the world. I think it's very much alive and well. It's just it's not necessarily always the priority. And I think we do tend to get distracted with, the things that are flashed in our face, whether it's money, whether it's, whatever the distraction is that you want to call it. I think we forget sometimes, and we miss the point and miss the opportunity to be kind with one another. So things like this, talking about Pride Month and talking about love is love, I think that is so important now more than ever, considering how much hate crimes we're seeing. It's more vital really now than ever.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Arian. And this is kind of a tough question, but what is the most hurtful thing that you have faced owning up to your sexuality from either a friend, family member, or just maybe even a stranger?
That's a good question. I can't find I can't really pinpoint a moment where I felt like I was really hurt, but there were moments where I felt like I was an outcast, and I think that was probably more difficult than someone saying a few words to me. I think that was the main issue for me, was people asking me really offensive questions, or even at work it would, and one of my bosses asked me a very strange question, like, how do you feel about someone that's trans, their parents, not accepting them, but also how do you feel, what do you think about a child transitioning? Like, how do you feel about that? And I had to respond and say, that is not my area of expertise. Information on that,
Yeah.
please feel free to Google it, find your information. I'm not a parent. If I had a kid that was trans, it's such a filled question. And just because I'm under the umbrella, it doesn't mean that I have the same experience as a trans person. So it does get confusing. I understand people have questions. They want to be educated. but I can't speak for every gay person. I can't speak for trans community. It's all different, but love is love, and the priority is pride in this situation. It's not necessarily about picking at what we choose to have an issue with, or it's not about that. So I think it's just been over time the questions and a lot of the things that I've come across that are hurtful more than anything, not necessarily a moment that felt hurtful. I'm sure there have been, but nothing that really was traumatizing. I'm very fortunate, I will say.
I was going to say that because I know Fernaz and I know what a loving mom she is and a loving person. And of course, and I think, I always believe that a foundation of a child comes from home, and you definitely have a strong one where you are surrounded by love. And I think with the things that you were going through, that builds you up as being more confident no matter what. You're ready to face the world. So, I mean, hats off to your mom too, and to both of you for getting through this together, because without that, it would have been really tough. And today you are 30 years old. You just turned 30. And I have to say, I'm so happy because things have really come a long ways for the LGBT community. And the most important and prominent thing to me is that gay marriages are legalized in all 50 states now. And that has been quite a fight. But we're there. And imagine from 20 years ago where we've come. And Pride Month is celebrated by millions of Americans this month. And many of them are not gay, but they are the supporters of friends and family who are. Stores, you walk into any store today, they're selling Pride color products. I love handbags, so I see even handbags and Pride color products. So, I mean, that makes me happy, right? People are buying this stuff. And when you're buying stuff, it means there's acceptance. So, Arian, today, are you feeling pride? Have you attended some of the Pride events going on? Do you feel more accepted now?
Yeah, 100%. I think with the pandemic, it was difficult because last year we were not able to celebrate Pride. I think now I'm seeing more of my friends get together. We're all vaccinated, so we're able to celebrate in our little way. It's not as big like a parade at this very moment, but we find mutual support from family and friends. I've seen friends whose parents have attended Pride through many years in DC, and yeah. So I think right now it's just celebrating within little groups and sending funny memes and just being proud to be who we are, inside and out. Yeah, so it's a beautiful time. I'm very happy.
That is wonderful. And for Naz, I know you and I talked. And for you, Arian is your son. You love him more than your own heart. So when he brings home someone special, are you just like a typical mother? Like, who is it? What are you doing? You know what I mean? Because we are mothers at heart.
Yep, absolutely. So it's funny because all Ariane's friends are just another kid. I really feel like they have a home with me. I do tell them when they come over, this is your home. You guys are like my kids. Of course, they laugh at me because they find me young that I would call them to be their moms. But anyways, they have changed my life. I think after I found out Ariane, his coming out and sharing that with me and meeting his friends, his group of friends are just so amazing. And I love each and every one of them. And I've learned a lot through this journey. And I'm just so grateful for the communities that are out there. And I'm grateful for all the friends that know my story about me and my son, how supportive they are. Mm-hmm. And we are basically an open book. We share our stories, and a lot of people that know us, we have a lot of mutual friends. So they can always ask questions or talk to us. So we welcome them into this family.
I can imagine. I mean, you guys are such warm-hearted people. And Ariane, I won't ask you this. Do you have someone special in your life? But I hope you do. And, if anyone out there, like, what message would each of you like to give to our listeners who are listening today, maybe that are struggling with this, or not even the people who are struggling with it, but the family and friends around them? How can they come together on this and grow together?
Well, I think from my perspective, I think it's important that any person that's like just coming out or has already came out, is just, be open to the possibility that things will be rough. It's not an easy road. However, it does get better, and I think that's such a cliche thing to say, but doesn't mean you won't face challenges. But I think it's important that you really find your people and your community, and just continue to support and spread love. That's the best we can do in terms of making up for all the hate. I think we need to combat that on a daily basis and practice that. And for those people who are a little more ignorant, closed off, or maybe they just don't understand, I think it's important to also be kind. As much as we want to fight back and fight fire with fire, it's important not to stoop to that level, and definitely rise above. I think that's very important. I've learned that through the years. So yeah, ultimately that's my message. And if anyone ever needs support or help in any specific way, if you're dealing with anxiety, or there are crisis hotlines, and I think there's such a taboo against them. You don't necessarily need to have suicidal thoughts to call a crisis hotline. So whether you're LGBT youth or someone that is just having a really tough time and doesn't have supportive family, the Trevor Project has a hotline, so you can go to trevorproject.com and kind of find resources there that will help you get through a really difficult time when rising up doesn't really do a whole lot in your current situation. It's important to have support no matter where it's coming from. So I'm always hoping and praying for those who are struggling right now, and I know they're going to get through this.
That is wonderful information. And what about you, Fernaz? What advice would you give to family out there?
As speaking from a parent perspective, definitely, I would say when kids or young adults are, trying to talk to their parents and bringing up their story of them coming out, I would just caution parents to really listen, instead of trying to think that they need to fix something and quickly react to something that they're not sure about, but really take to heart and understand that this is really not a choice, that they're really born this way, and they need to receive the support and the unconditional love from their friends and their parents, especially their families. And with two things that I can really think, two biggest points that I have is, I think accountability is really important no matter what community you're in, and also to be open, communicate, and have patience. And this is really coming from all the parties involved. And I'm really praying all the time that for those that don't have the support, that they reach out and seek the support that they need. There's just a lot of tools. There are a lot of people that are accepting, like we are as a family, so you are never alone. So just keep rising above, and for those that are celebrating Pride Month, good for them. They go celebrate it, meet new friends, and bless. We will bless them and pray for them.
Or as we say, bless the gays.
Yes.
And I say, you know what? Even if you're not celebrating Pride Month, be kind and understanding to all of those who are. That's all we can ask for today, An amazing podcast today. Thank you guys, both of you, so much. You are really an example for others out there who need courage and guidance to be comfortable in their own skin. And Aryan, I wish you a smooth ride from now on for your future, and I hope you have true happiness. And for Naz, both of you guys have inspired us so much today. And to our listeners, I'm sure they appreciate this. Thank you again.
Emma, we really appreciate you.
Yes.
Of course.
Thank you so much.
I could have gone on forever. I know we have a time limit on this, but this has been wonderful. And with that, we want to thank all of our listeners for joining us today. And I request you to give us feedback on our podcast. We would love to hear from you. Next time, you'll meet another unique guest and hear their inspiring story. So until next time, stay safe, healthy, and remember, living is giving.